Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Wednesday, December 24, 2025 and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald.
And we have a very interesting show for you today. First of all, we're going to discuss Careem CEO's statement on LinkedIn. He says we are still dramatically undershooting our potential. He's talking about the MENA startups. We have a very interesting roundtable, which Rich was a part of. That's going to be an interesting listen and watch for you as well. So stay tuned for that at the end of the show. But first of all, we need to discuss, and whenever Rich is here, we love to discuss football and business, but
and
first of all, and Christmas also, but there's so many players here. Everyone is in Dubai.
You know, imagine it's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everyone. And in the past, Dubai was a destination for sun. So footballers would take a break here. But now it's linked to business. There's the Globe Soccer Awards, which uses the word soccer. And, you know, people sort of play down on it and they compare it with Ballon d'Or. But when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s, Ballon d'Or wasn't something. It only really emerged. And, you know, whatever happens, but awards have ability to get credibility over time. And what Dubai used to have, they had a summit during the day and then the awards at night. Now they just have the awards at night, and it's quite a fancy affair. I've lucky enough been there a couple of times, but they really do get the big stars in, they get the agents. But it's one of those awards where everyone in the room wins. So, you know, you might see the voting online of best player, but once you get to the events, you know if Holland is there, Mbappe's there, they're winning. Or Ronaldo's there, they're winning. But like the voting is legit coming up to it. But then who can get to Dubai in busy Christmas, winter season? It's generally the leagues that have a winter break. Germany, France, Italy. Italy just had their Super Cup in Jeddah, where Napoli won against AC Milan. Conte was celebrating there. He'll probably end up in RSL Saudi League eventually, or with the national team. Who knows? So there's some rumors about that. But my point is that, like, Globe Soccer Awards, and then Dubai has the World Football Summit. Riyadh just had a football summit a few weeks ago, and Dubai has one on the 30th, 31st. So they're really investing from a Dubai Sports Council level into clubs, into sports. They have a new vision and strategy around that. And then there's a conference around that as well. So yes, the footballers are here for that, but there's many things happening. You know, Zlatan was on the beach. The Bellinghams are here. Vinny Jr. Just left. Vinny Jr. Is linked to that MOU between Dubai Tourism and Real Madrid. So he was in town, but there's probably a campaign being shot in that. You know, he posted one of those photo dumps of all the images, but there's probably a little bit of a video that'll be on Visit Dubai in 2 or 3 weeks' time from his short stint here, as happens quickly with these assets, because they've got deliverables in their MOU, you know, and obviously there's Real Madrid Park down there in Dubai Parks and Resorts. So all these things are becoming more and more commercial. There's many different ways to look at it. I posted a story today. I was in Sports City and ISD, and on one level, you had the Spanish Academy that's now got big iconic images around the place of the Real Madrid stars, Bellingham, Mbappe, whoever. And then you've got this kind of graffiti truck painted, you know, United FC, the home of United FC ISD, and they're in the First Division. They're coached by Andre Pirlo, and they're up and coming, right? So my point is that it's brewing, the IP and the commercial rights in the lower division in the football leagues. We started off with academies. It started off with international IP, Juventus Academy, PSG Academy. Now there's lots of clubs, there's lots of leagues, there's lots of things like that. So this sort of fusion of international stars, local academies, things like that. But it is becoming more and more business. When I was here, you know, over a decade ago, I would see footballers, and we heard Parth on the Love in Dubai show talking this morning about he nearly saw Messi once or whatever. I remember, you'll appreciate this one, I remember being impressed 10 years ago where in JBR I saw Teddy Sheringham walking into a bar, right? And he's obviously lives here a long time, he always plays golf, and everyone's seen players over the years here. And I happened to be at Ski Dubai last week, and Teddy Sheringham was there. Nice. And but like it's a generational thing now, right? But there's people like that. Firstly, there's only certain people who know what that is. But there's people like that who sort of pass through Dubai, and who live here and like Salgado and people like that. There's also people who are involved in the clubs and the with the Sports Council, people who are recreationally, or they may have other business interests. Like there's a lot of UK media coverage of the fact that Rio Ferdinand now has a place here. But he does have interest. He's involved in Cora Break, who've just, a Saudi upstart media company, not unlike Tamania, but they just launched a Cora Break scores app. So it's, again, there's so much ecosystem around football now. The guy who used to run SMC in Saudi is now, Khalid is now running Cora Break as well. So Rio Ferdinand invest in it. Like there's a lot of things happening, and they'll be on the red carpet on
a lot
the
of
28th for the Globe Soccer Awards. So yeah, I've gone on, but
no, but it
exciting.
makes sense. Like you know, we always talk about on the Smashi Business Show, since it says business, that all the big businessmen are coming here. But we need to understand that football stars eventually become businessmen. They have to do businesses, they run businesses, or their partnerships. So it's a lot of. Middle East is the place to be honest. It's not just the way, it's Middle East. That is the place to be.
But we always talk about like IPs and the value of clubs in the US, NBA, and the value of the Premier League clubs. And, you know, again, going back to when I was a kid, the Premier League didn't exist and it was created. You know, and I just think that people sort of write off the clubs and the franchises and the IPs here too soon, you know, and they just like they write off the Saudi league. But you know, we talked about it on the show. The value of Al Hilal is $2 billion, right? Like wherever the money's coming from, or whoever owns the club, or wherever, like obviously, you know, the stadiums aren't as full in certain games and things like that, and obviously it has a way to go, and some leagues are far ahead of others, but there's IP there, there's value there. We talk about Ben Harburg, we talk about Al Khaloud, we talk about Paul Pogba investing in a camel club, camel racing club. You know, people who invest in IP and sports shouldn't miss out this region. Dubai Basketball is another successful club, an IP. They've been winning well in their first ever season in the EuroLeague. And it's exciting.
And they're just not winning at home in the Coca-Cola Arena, they're winning away as well. So it's really interesting how the sports IP, as Rich said, is growing here. But we have like billion-dollar IPs in the region. And yesterday there was a very interesting LinkedIn post by Careem CEO, Mudassir Sheikha, and he went on to refer to the 2016 PIF investment, $3.5 billion in Uber. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, what I read, Careem started in 2012. In this region, it was July-ish. Uber started in 2009, but public rollout was completely in 2011, 2012. So they started at the same time, but PIF at that time chose Uber over a local startup. Careem is a big giant now, and that is what Mudassir Sheikha is saying.
Yeah, Mudassir, basically, he said, the quote is that he felt like it was, what's the quote? A slap in the face.
He said,
felt like the region
betting against their own home team.
Betting against their home team. You know, you can say that, and that's what something will feel like when you're a competitor, when you're upstart and things like that. So it is a certain narrative he's gone with here. Partially true, partially not. You know, does that mean that sovereign wealth funds can't have investments outside? Like, you know, if you have an investment portfolio that's diversified, if you have equities that, you know, some of the bonds in the region are junk stock. The Bahraini government bonds are junk stock. You know, so if I invest in that, if I invest somewhere else, am I betting again? Do you know what I mean? So some CEOs have to say things. They have to, and when you're trying to compete against Uber, and we remember those early years, that 2012, 2016. I remember in Love in Dubai when we posted about Careem, the fans, the home people love it. Like they love when we write about Emirates versus Uber. But to the same point, I think what he's trying to do is say, hey, invest in startups here. You know, it's not just about the US startups. And Smashi always talks about startups here. You know, we've covered some really nice ones in the last week. We always talk about Kalshi, which isn't from here yet. But we talk about Halapop. We talk about many brands all the time from the region. And I guess what he's saying is true to a degree. Uber then eventually went on to buy Careem. So maybe with some of that PIF money, but no, they obviously had gone public by then. But yeah, it's always good to have leaders and spokespeople
Yeah.
coming out and saying things and things
You
like
remember
that.
we talked about like leaders being very diplomatic and not saying stuff, one of
Yeah.
the posts. And I think this is starting to
Yeah.
take shape where they've become confident enough and they're so confident in their own products as well. It comes from you having a good product that you become this confident and go out and say that, oh no, we deserve the money also. And I think I would refer to Yasser Rumayyan, last year FII, not this year FII, this year was all AI. Last year FII, he said that we're cutting down outside spending from nearly 30% of our portfolio to nearly 20%, and we'll take that 10 or 12% out and invest locally. And when you see local startups in Saudi Arabia, we've seen a big trend that it's always backed by a PIF company. Sanabil Investment is a PIF vehicle where they use it for startups, or some big giant in Saudi which is investing in a Saudi startup. So I think it's starting to get there where we started developing trust in our own brands. And Noor Al Hassan is also the lady who wrote the article on Vamda. She's the founder of two startups, Arabic.ai and Tarjama.ai. Both of them basically work around languages and translations. Tarjama, I've used it, I don't remember when, but I've used it for translations. It's a good enough platform. And she wrote that there's $4 trillion of wealth in this region, sovereign wealth fund, if you count all of them, ADIA, PIF, Qatar QIA, even Mumlakat, the Bahraini one. All of them we talk about it, $4 trillion. They can invest in local startups. And to be honest, I think he was hurt at that point, and now he chose to talk about it, but then he balanced it out. He very nicely said that now it's getting better. And I think we've seen it getting better.
So if they're talking specifically about sovereign wealth funds, then,
Yeah.
then you know that's a nice thing to ask for some of the cash.
Yeah.
I think the sovereign wealth funds have two objectives. They want to generate revenue, and they're, especially PIF. It's geared towards Vision 2030.
Yeah.
Their goals isn't to improve the livelihood and economies in other countries.
Yeah.
They're making those investments in Ticketmaster or cruises company or whatever, in other words, to generate revenue and have some synergies with the local tourism or the local sectors. When PIF invests in Lucid, it's not to take on Tesla in electric vehicles in the US. It's to have a bet in the electric vehicle space, but also to build factories to produce Lucids locally in KSA. So there's often a dual synergy there. So when they invested in Uber, it wasn't to beat Careem in Saudi or UAE. It's to allow smart mobility capabilities into the region. And but again, it was Philip Ahoshi who made that point from Magnet about people speaking up, and I think you guys do a great job on Smashi Business with
We try our best.
with amplifying the statements made by and the profiles. Mudassir is very respected. The Careem success story has continued to innovate after the acquisition. And they've done a really good job.
And Noor Hassan, just before we move on towards the roundtable thing, she mentioned a lot of startups which have gone on and proven Careem CEO, Mudassir Sheikha's point. She talked about Tabby, we see it. It's a big player now. Tamara, both of them BNPL. Both of them now based in Saudi. But then she talks about Noon, it's a big giant. Mohammed Al-Abar says it's worth $10 billion if it goes for IPO. We have Talabat, obviously Delivery Hero took it, but Talabat was founded in this region, has become a big player. Property Finder, Aramex itself, I think that reference came because Vamda is Fadi Gandoor, and she was like, let's put Aramex also. He's the founder of Aramex. Aramex is now owned by ADQ, a sovereign wealth fund in the Abu Dhabi, completely owned now. So it's very interesting, the conversation. But another interesting conversation happened in Augustus Media Office in Dubai, Production City. Rich was a part of it. It was a panel. We called it a roundtable. There was Rich. There was Angela Heekin Kwok. She is the WebOS Partnership and Marketing Manager at LG. We had Ksenia Alexieva. She was sitting with Rich, I remember from the pictures. She's the head of paid media at Yango Play. Andrew Ene, head of performance at Spark Foundry MENA. And Mustali Kashwala. He was the Chief Technology Officer at Arabiad.
So the panel discussion was basically called So Fast, the future of streaming with LG. FAST is an acronym for free ad-supported streaming service, and as we're a media company, we're very passionate about this space, but it was just a discussion that we're going to play for you on the Smashi Business Show. It'll let you know where brands are approaching the future of media. You know, I've got some media predictions coming out. Give you a heads up, it'll be published probably in Campaign Middle East next week. And one of the headline top predictions is 2026 is going to be the year of CTV.
Nice.
So CTV is connected TV advertising, and it's been brewing and bubbling for a while. We just saw last week that Instagram are launching a TV app. This sort of fusion of Netflix and YouTube in terms of strategies. YouTube have just signed the Oscars, which was perennially on TV. They're having that in 2028, 2029. Netflix have signed podcast deals with The Ringer and a few others on Spotify. So there's a lot of fusion between streaming of social and TV, and it's all on connected TV devices. They all want to get, they have enough money from social video advertising. They want to take more money from advertising on what was cable TV. They want to get that, and they're not just letting the old cable streaming service doing it. The YouTubes and the Metas are trying to get a share of that cash. So LG are really well placed. They launched their own OS, operating system, in 2011. It's in hundreds of millions of devices, in hotel rooms, in cars, in smart TVs, globally, and they have a feature within that operating system where you download your Netflix app, and it's called LG Channels. And that feature has pre-programmed channels, not applications, and they're called FAST, free ad-supported streaming services. So it's basically watching your existing TV channel with what we call linear programming, not on demand. The apps are on demand. You choose what you want to watch when you want to watch, but the LG Channels isn't on demand. You don't choose what program to watch. You turn on, you choose the channel, and something's playing. So when the Love in Dubai TV channel launches on LG Channels, you'll flick it on, and something will be playing at that certain hour and that certain day. So that's what LG Channels is, and it's free. Whereas all the apps are subscription. We saw a big headline last week where Shahid, Disney Plus, and OSN Plus launched a 3-for-2 bundle for 90 dirham. You revealed Majid there nicely on the show. But the LG channels will be free. So if you don't even want to pay the 90 dirhams and you want to choose many channels to watch, and they all have them. Samsung have a thing called Samsung TV Plus, which is free channels. You obviously have to pay for your internet, but
there is some payment always involved. I remember Adam Mosseri, he recently talked about IGTV. I think you would remember, not a lot of people remember, Instagram had IGTV at some point where they were for long-term videos, and it suddenly randomly disappeared. They completely cut it out, and I think they're bringing it back somehow. I read it somewhere.
It's not called IGTV, but I know what you mean. But the IGTV was a sort of so basically at the time before 2020, Facebook were doing 3-minute videos, and they sort of said, let's do a little bit of long form, and they launched a vertical IGTV app. But then they saw the growth of short form with TikTok, and they quickly switched. They shut down IGTV and merged it into the Instagram app, and they launched Reels in New York with lots of the top creators about a month before Corona. And then they, so that was in 2020. So they basically, that sort of quick product feature pivot enabled them to not die, not be killed off by the aggressive TikTok. And now the Reels feature has become the dominant feed unit for Instagram, as well as obviously the DMs and the sharing and the stories. But that sort of Reels thing was really, really good for them. And, you know, Adam Mosseri talks, the guy who runs Instagram for Mark Zuckerberg, he talks about like what they want to achieve with this as well. But they sort of, they have a very interesting way to launch things. It doesn't need to be a success at the start per se. They'll build on versions, and they can potentially see if people want to watch longer form stuff, that maybe we'll see longer form stuff on the TV as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening to this conversation. And now we go on to the bigger conversation, the roundtable. So fast, the future of streaming with LG channels.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to So Fast, the future of streaming with LG channels. I'm Anam Amin, and I'll be moderating today's roundtable. As most of us know, MENA region is experiencing one of its fastest pivots towards connected TV, ad-supported streaming, and fast channels. What used to be a niche viewing behavior is now becoming mainstream media habit, and that shift is reshaping how brands plan and how platforms curate content and how publishers think about distribution. Today, we have an incredible mix of perspective in the room. We have platforms, publishers, platform performance leaders, and tech innovators with us. We have Angela Huok, Web OS Partnership and Marketing Manager at LG Electronics. Andrew Ine, Head of Performance at Spark Foundry. I should point so you know who's who. Mus- Mustali Kashwali, CTO at Arabi Ads, Richard Fitzgerald, as you know, CEO of Augustus Media, and Senia Alexeva, Head of Paid Media Strategy at Yango Play. Together, we're going to explore how fast channels are evolving in MENA and what's driving adoption, what's blocking scale, and what the ecosystem needs next. So let's jump into it. We'll start with where fast channels is going in MENA and the role each of you play in shaping this ecosystem. Angela, let's begin with you. From a platform perspective, LG channels have launched in the UAE. What are the plans for rolling out in rest of the MENA markets, and what factors guide these expansions?
So we just launched it in the UAE. So definitely our immediate priority is to strengthen the platform locally. So we are more focusing on cultivating our platform and the product first, and focusing on and delivering the expectations and the diverse taste of UAE viewers. That's actually our strategy. And then also we have a broader ambition that I want to emphasize, which is to we want to expand gradually in MENA. So recently I delivered. So we don't just deliver. LG Tellers is our product, but we also want to make it raise it first, so that it's actually respect to our advertisers and also the viewers. So that's the strategy and the steps that we're taking right now. But globally, we are available in 36 countries and offering 4,000 channels already. So, which is a commitment that will definitely roll out in MENA, and then delivering high quality contents to many more households and the LG TV users over time.
That's actually really nice. I appreciate this perspective. Very intentional expansion is good to hear from tech partners rather than just like entering a market without understanding your client. That's actually good to hear, but it's also really important to understand if clients are actually ready for this. I assume that's part of the plan as well. Sandra, we'll come to you. From your perspective, what are you seeing? Are clients leaning into fast and CTV? How do you think that conversation has evolved so far?
I would say that right now the market is very nascent. So there's been a lot of conversation around CTV and the rapid expansion. I think with fast, it's kind of starting from a very low base. So I think back in 2003, I did a little bit of prep. It was valued at around 7 million, and it's more than quadrupled every year since. So there's obviously a lot of momentum. But in terms of leaning in, I think it depends on the category. So for example, if you're in the CPG space, then you care about efficient reach. And unfortunately, right now, we're not seeing that when it comes to fast and CTV. But for luxury brands, that's where you're going to see a lot of rapid growth, because they care more about the kind of superiority in terms of targeting and in terms of the screens as well.
Interesting. We will get to that area and later on in the roundtable, but that's interesting perspective, especially luxury, I think. We'll dive into the content side while we're sticking in the, what the landscape is. Richard, I'll direct this to you. Let's talk content. Interest also grows when publishers embrace these platforms. As a digital-first publisher, what encouraged you to expand into fast channel space, a relatively new territory for the region?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of narratives around changing consumption in media, whether it's social media or away from incumbent legacy media formats. But as a publisher, you have to be so aware nowadays, not just about the media, but also about the medium where one is consuming. And, the conversations that we've had with LG and watching what would be called OEMs have done in the last 15 years opened my eyes to what's happening on the distribution level of how to reach people. I was flabbergasted that the OS, LG OS started in 2011. 2014, it had around 50 million. Don't quote me, not official, but they could verify. But now it's over 250 million people have access to an LG OS globally. If I told you there's a social media platform with that MAU, you would be on it. So I think people are so obsessed with being on social media that they're missing the fact that digital technologies are a great way to reach people. And yes, you have to adjust your programming, you have to adjust your content, but our strategy on our channels, our Smashi and our Lovin', is that we want to feel the same everywhere. I always use the analogy of McDonald's. If you have a McDonald's in the restaurant or drive-through or in a VIP suite at a football game, it's still going to feel and look like McDonald's. So our Lovin' Dubai is still going to feel the same as the populous mainstream local city guide that it is on fast channels. And it's just been really exciting to see this evolution. We always think audience first. I do, obviously the numbers direct where you should be, and if there is ad spend in CTV, it would great to be there. But for me, the audience is already there. The numbers speak for themselves. 250 million on one OEM means there's huge distribution opportunities.
That's interesting. And that's actually a perfect segue into content discoverability formats and what actually works. So I'll come back to you, Angela. There's been a lot of conversation around content discoverability on smart TV. How does LG approach this with shelves and curated sections?
So when you compare between the traditional TV and the fast TV channels, it's very similar. It's programmed. It's working 24/7, and there are 100 channels. But it's not just about offering 100 channels, but we have a upgrade version now. So which means that we need to help the viewers to find the contents they love faster and then also effortlessly. So that with that we just upgraded our and rebranded our applications and the platforms, so that with the recommendations, curated shelves, and then the collections of the contents, so that we are helping to find the viewers to get to the contents without leaving their screens. And also we are powering our algorithm, like recommendation algorithms, so that the users we can deeper our personalizations. So these are something that's new technology. It's not something new, but when you come to compare the traditional TV and the fast channels, it's something that we are working on, and we're trying to offer like the volume of channels, and at the same time the better user experience and the seamless experience for the viewers. And also for the MENA region specifically, we also support right to left, so that Arabic speaking users can experience LG channels with the no language barriers, and they're seamlessly.
Yeah, localization. That's fantastic. And of course, discoverability is only as strong as the content that sits behind it. Okay, suddenly the mic is working. I can hear myself. Richard, this is for you. How does Augustus Media and publishers in general currently approach content for platforms like LG channels? Are you repurposing existing content or developing anything specific for connected TV?
Yeah, a bit of both. You know, so basically as Angela said, there's a precedent for 24-hour cable news channels. Love in Dubai has always published around the clock. We kind of say minimum 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. So volume and speed of content has always been there in digital formats. I think we were surprised as well when we were doing the assessment of how ready we are for fast. The assessment was, you know, how much of your content, how many hours of content you have over a quarter. I think the minimum requirements was, you know, 100, 150 hours or so. We had 500 hours. And the minimum requirement was 30% refresh rate, and we had 40% refresh rate. This was even before we sort of decided to introduce a few new formats. And so as a base, you know, we had a base content that was there that made the threshold. While, you know, incumbents and linear 24-hour streaming channels can fit on the fast and the programming can work in a linear way, I do believe that streaming allows you to rethink programming rules. I do think that you can be more unconstrained. I don't think you have to, like podcasts can be 2 hours or 1 hour and 48 minutes. It doesn't have to be a 60-minute slot that allows 15 minutes for ads. So I think that the programming of the future, it doesn't have to, for streaming, can be a little bit more unconstrained. And that's how we'll approach our linear streaming programming rules. We won't necessarily take what you would take as, you know, appointment viewing, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock news. We'll view this a bit differently because of the unconstrained nature of streaming and also the way the user is now consuming media. If a user can watch a 7-part series or if they can watch 2-hour Joe Rogan episodes, then why can't we have a 2-hour Love in Dubai show in the morning, you know, that kind of runs over into something else? So I think definitely we don't, as a modern media company, we don't have to adopt previous rules. And that's how we approach everything. You know, how we write headlines in Love in Dubai is very much how we speak to one another. It's not how you would write a headline of an article to attract attention on a newsstand as a headline of a tabloid. That's not how we approach modern media, and the same way with our programming decisions.
I actually love that because there's a constant narrative around how there's a lack of attention right now, and there are like texts being produced on it. There are content being followed based on the attention span, the short form video platforms. But I'm a heavy TikTok user, to test me. But you see these comments where you have these 7-part series of people narrating a story, and someone will say, oh, I actually don't have an attention problem. I have a problem with the content that's being delivered to me. So it's a storyline. In that regard, I feel like you're already on path. So Angela said that the tech is being developed and localized. In your opinion, what else needs to change? Whether it's the monetization for you to start producing content specifically with fast, what else do you need to change in the market?
I think internet penetration, 5G across the region. In some countries, we're lucky in UAE, alhamdulillah, we've got great internet connectivity, but across the region, we'd like to see more of that. I think there's a gap in smart TV penetration. I know people will have different numbers on this, but compared with the US, I think we have a way to go, which is great because rather than taking market share, you're kind of growing into new market share. In terms of, obviously revenue, but revenue isn't always our decision on content. We prefer to grow audience. There's many of our formats that have big audiences that we don't necessarily monetize, but we still do it. So that we see benefit with building audiences, growing brands, and reaching people even for free in certain areas. And like at a recent sort of CTV event, I think the fast is perfect for the region because there's such appetite. You don't have a piracy issue with fast, right? Because it's already free. So I think there's such an appetite for free content across the region in digital formats. So we're, you know, regardless of revenue, yes, we'd like to see those numbers go up, and we'd like to see, we've hired a new head of audience and data growth, Mo, to look after that. And but I do think the audience will grow. We're not sort of looking to drive people back to our websites for banner ads because that era has passed per se. We're more interested in leaning into how people view content and fast channels and smart TV penetration and the wider screens. I didn't mention earlier about, yes, there might be 250 million downloaders of the LG OS, which includes the operating system and the fast channels. That includes all hotels around the world. That includes all airlines around the world. Or sorry, not airlines yet. All automotive. The self-driving cars will have screens. If you go to CES or any of the consumer electronic events around the world, it's all about screens. Digital screens are everywhere now. So this is us moving beyond websites and even thinking beyond social media into wearables, into different types of screen technology. So that's where the audiences will be in the future.
Fantastic, Rashid. That actually ties in quite nicely to moving into how brands think about environments and formats. So Senia, from your point of view as a digital-first entertainment brand, what makes fast channels attractive as a part of your media strategy?
I would say that the most important part for me is an audience attention, because we all live in clipping mindset, meaning that when we go to social media, we spend just several seconds and we scroll away. And it's very difficult to capture people's attention, then they scroll away all the time. And fast channel give you access to this lean back audience who is already in entertainment mode and who is already paying attention to your screen. Of course, apart from the attention, we can talk about the brand alignment, because fast channels helps you create this brand association with people's favorite characters, with people's favorite genres, channels, and whatnot. And of course, we can talk about big screens, because big screens gives you a better brand impact and gives you access to a premium audience.
Right. That's actually perfect, because now I want to talk about audiences. These are really good insight, because now we're talking about attention, and I want to come back to it and talk about audience behavior, KPIs, and technical enablers. So Angela, we'll come back to you. What kind of viewer behaviors are you seeing on the platform so far? And what signals are you looking at to evolve your content strategy?
So our early signals are very interesting and exciting. So in global markets, fast channel audiences gravitates towards the kids contents and the news and the lifestyle contents. As we just talked about, how the most important and the interesting part of the trend is how they consume the shorter sessions and frequent returns, and preference of the snackable entertainment. So we are trying to make a strategy on double down the short form contents as well, and also regional series, so which will fit into our everyday routines, and that's something that we're looking into right now. And also where the important part is the data. We're also looking into metrics, engagement metrics, so that which help us to fine-tune the mix between the global hits, because we have a global channels, and at the same time we're a mix of local gems. So all this data will help us to fine-tune our operations and then the growth of their platforms.
Amazing. You mentioned some signals in the beginning for audience behavior. They matter a lot to brands, especially when measuring impact. So Sania, from your perspective, how do you assess success when advertising on fast platforms? What KPIs matter to you most?
I would say the most straightforward, and that's what we do in the first place, is to check the media metrics, such as obviously impressions, reach, frequency, viewability, video views, VTR. But to be honest, we always go deeper. We try always to run brandly studies to understand how our ad campaign impacts our brand awareness, our brand perception, our brand consideration. And when it's possible, we always try to connect
our MMP to fast platforms to evaluate the number of attributed conversions. And if it's not possible, at least be evaluated the number of conversions before and after the ad campaigns. So I would say it's a mix of media metrics, brand lift studies, and also obviously conversions.
Okay. And KPI has always leaned on the tech that sits behind. So Mustali, as a technical lead at Arabiat, what excites you most about the fast channel opportunity, particularly with LG channels entering the MENA market?
I think there are a few pointers out there. One of the biggest pointer that I see where everyone loves when we have a discussion with the agencies and clients is fast channel sits in a very sweet spot between SWOD and AWOD. So you can, with fast channel, you can reach those users who are behind subscription based video consumption products. They are not available as a advertisement audience. You can now reach them, and with what we've seen, we've been working with LG for the last 3 years, and the algorithmic audience that was spoken about, we've seen that in action. The AECR data, the algorithmic data that is available with LG TV is used and loved by clients and agency a lot, and that is where I see a joint that the new type of audience that will be available for agencies plus this audience type and of course already been spoken that the curated content. Now in AWOD there is a lot of chaos, and there is also always a question about where the ad will be shown. So that curated content, long media content, lean back experience, all those things is very interesting right now. And local content will bring a very big difference into this market.
Oh, fantastic. That's a great perspective. Now that we know how people behave and how brands measure, let's look at what's holding the ecosystem back. Andy. Andrew, what are the biggest challenges when it comes to including fast platforms in your media plans? Is it measurability, targeting, or something else?
Good question. The biggest challenge, it's probably awareness, to be honest. So within the agencies, the way media planners work is they think first about the client's objective, and of course the audience they're trying to reach. And then they look at kind of, to be honest with you, the easiest route to your audience, based on the objective, whatever that might be, whether it's raising awareness or driving conversions, for example. And unfortunately, fast, I think it's and CTV, it's newer. So a lot of planners, I think it's just taken a little bit more time to get them used to the idea of further diversification away from the platforms that they know work. So with fast, you're kind of stuck between the kind of legacy linear TV measurement kind of ecosystem,
Sure.
And the kind of advantages of the digital ecosystem. And because of that, you're just kind of, it's still very much, it's a growing space that hasn't hit that level of maturity yet, where you're going to find, CTV in every single media plan. But what you would find though is typically in a large kind of launch event, whatever that might be, whichever brand, service, etc., you will almost invariably have CTV in there. It will be coated around some kind of personalization type messaging, because it won't be your primary reach driver. It will be a tactical kind of execution within a grander strategic plan. So yeah, to answer your question, it's more about knowledge and kind of being front of mind, to be honest, within the agencies and with planners.
Which is quite fascinating given the amount of conversation that's already being had. Yeah, that's interesting.
Also convincing clients as well, because you have to remember, with a plan, you go to the client and it needs to be sold into the client. So speak to the clients as well.
So what's your problem? It's there. Are you convinced? I'm convinced. So
And I want to know from a technical lens, are there some challenges when it comes to from the infrastructure space? From your perspective?
Definitely, I think Andrew was quite polite not to point out the challenges that are there. Awareness is one big thing across the creative side. Creative side is still, we've seen that
Yeah.
all the traditional content are repurposed for CTV instead of having a fresh look and a dedicated focus on that. So that awareness piece is required. Measurement, yeah, there are gaps in the measurement, be it third-party tracking platforms, viewability, brand safety, stuff like that. So there also awareness is also needed. Stability and evaluation on the OEM side is also needed. And then comes attribution, which it also mentioned. And the attribution is very easily said. I think everyone comes from the mindset of the mobile world where everything is so strong, everything is perfect, and CTV is, like Andrew said, very nascent, 3 years old. It is taking its time to develop everything. Attribution with maybe an OEM Play Store like a LG Play Store, attribution works seamless. But if we want to do a attribution with an iOS platform or an Android platform, it is still there are a lot of challenges, lot of gaps which need to be filled before we can say that okay, all those things will work. So there are pretty much quite a lot of challenges right now in this space, but the pace at which these are getting resolved and going live, I think 2026 will be a very interesting year. We'll see a lot of new things coming out.
Oh, that's really fascinating. I'd love to have this conversation again. So to fully scale in the region, these are valid points. You said something about mobile audiences. I still remember the year of mobile, like 8-9 years ago, where the entire focus was on mobile. Let's see how next year turns out. Now, from a publisher side, Richard, scale and monetization play a major role in content investment. Where do you see the future of digital media heading? Will FAST become a core pillar alongside social, web, and YouTube?
Potentially, I think the wider sort of advertising revenue stream from streaming will only continue to go up. You know, we've long been educated on SVOD and AVOD, and now FAST is a type of an a accepted demand bit because it's not on demand, it's linear, it's always there, it's you know, sort of programmed TV. So I think, you know, while you might have different ways to buy, you might be able to buy audience through people who are watching ambient FAST channels or leaving it on running in the background. You might be able to buy selective, like on Yango, if they have a new show, you might be able to buy ads directly with integrated into the program. Actually, Yango has a hit series on at the moment, an Egyptian show, and in the middle of the program, there is Flowered, the delivery company from Kuwait, is programmed into the programming. So I think people are approaching streaming in so many different ways in terms of advertising. But from our audience point of view, we'll definitely look at hand in hand. And I think we see with other streaming services like Netflix that they would never do advertising. Now they partnered with Microsoft for 2 years and then they build their own SSP. So, you know, could we see in the future other people spinning off other sort of paid services, spinning off one element into a FAST? And that's the way we view it, you know, like our Lovin OS on LG will be all our cities, all our 22 cities in one place. Like our Smashi TV is already available on LG OS. What we will do after we launch Lovin Dubai TV on LG channels, we will pull out the sports matches from Smashi TV as part of like 13 different channels. We'll pull it out of behind the paywall and we'll put it into free on LG channels. And we see this in the US. There's a service called Fubo.tv, which originally was football, added loads of programming, aggregated a lot of content, paid service, and they'll also have a FAST channel. Whereas, this region is a lot being led by the OEMs predominantly, but in the US you had standalone FAST entities like Tubi, which was acquired by News Corp. So that they've been going for a long time, and they've done well by just focusing on FAST. But I think, you know, like Netflix approved, if you focus on SVOD and AVOD, I think the future is SVOD, AVOD, and FAST. And as a publisher, we have to be on all three, basically.
Okay, fantastic. Now that we've diagnosed the gaps, let's talk about brands. What brands actually do on FAST platforms. Senya, what kind of content formats or environments work best for brands like Yango Play when advertising on platforms like LG channels and other CTV players?
Usually we mix different ad formats and placements. What we do quite often, for example, we combine high impact formats. I'm talking about different takeovers, about different first screen placements with in content native ads. This way, on first hand, we get immediate attention and high viewability, and then we keep building on it, putting our ads in the right environment, going more personalized and going more contextually relevant.
Interesting. And Andrew, for format environments often look different depending on whether the brand is performance led or brand awareness led.
Sure.
How does the conversion differ between performance driven brands and brand building clients when it comes to fast advertising?
How does it differ?
Yeah.
Interesting question. I think it's converging because a lot of as we move into a more kind of digital centric or digital first content production as well as consumer consumption of content, production and consumption, and as more and more businesses want to own more of the entire kind of consumer journey. So from serving ad to the consumer to actually selling the product to the consumer, I think it's no longer just about kind of driving that kind of top of funnel awareness, and it's more so about understanding or serving consumers across the different mindset. They used to call it the messy middle, and we had a cool case study with Arla and IRB Ads back in the day, where we basically, so Arla is it's a milk brand and they do dairy products. It was a awareness led campaign, but at the end of the ad spot itself, we had a QR code and as well as a coupon code. So in terms of the attribution challenge, we were able to just measure just basically based on how many coupons were actually redeemed. So that's a very basic way of solving it. But yeah, to answer your question, it's essentially converged. So it's now a full funnel approach to almost all the advertising that we do.
Interesting. And performance brings us back to how tech needs to evolve to support the advertisers. Exactly what Andrew was saying. From a programmatic and performance-led Mustali, how do you envision building the right tech stack to support effective ad delivery, targeting, and measurement on fast channels?
I think this works very close in hand in hand with the challenges that we spoke about. Right now, there are some challenges in terms of awareness on the creative side and measurement side. So that is the reason why the current market situation is everything is tightly controlled, either direct IO or programmatic PG buys. Right now, things are evolving. Everyone in the industry is understanding that. Going forward in 2026, I think we will definitely see preferred these PMPs come into play. Open auction will be a little far away, but because of the challenges, it has to be a very tight control delivery mechanism. Otherwise, the brands will lose money, and there will not be enough capturing of the data that needs to happen with the campaigns.
Interesting. Before I close off, actually, Richard, I was thinking about what you mentioned about what's happening in the US. You see if you can mimic it here. Is this so much so? Is it the requirement, or are you influencing the behavior? Are brands behaving the same way they are in international markets? Aside from the audience, we spoke a lot about the audience. We spoke about the tech. Do you also see brands having similar requests? Is that what you're catering to when you're bringing this dynamic solutions?
Yeah, as I said, we've primarily look at where media is being consumed.
Yeah.
As a digital media company, we look at text, audio, and video, and if people are consuming media, newsletters will be there, our social media, our streaming will be there. And just to go beyond, I do think there's also a fusion with podcasts and video in terms of streaming, and I think a lot of podcast content will be available on fast channels as well. So in terms of what brands are doing, the US versus here, obviously a digital marketing plan and a budget. If the percentage is higher in the US or here, first of all, you go, are the marketers sophisticated enough to convince the people who are approving the plans to be, 50, 60, 70, 80% digital, and whether that's out of home as well. Then it sort of starts from there. And then you look at where you can, as Andrew said, like where you can reach people. And if the sales teams at the big social networks do a good job at convincing that you're going to get ROI, then they're going to get more of the share. But and I think that's the sort of what we're seeing. In the US, again, if Tubi say, hey, okay, we're owned under Fox, Fox might have Fox Sports and they might have all that, but we're going to put the Super Bowl on a streaming service this year, as they did for the first time ever, and 21 million people watch it, then that's a lesson to where all this is going, It started off with Netflix doing a few NFL games on Christmas Day, I think, last year. And so there's now a sort of a path to where budgets are going to go. And I think this region has a history of large budgets and advertising on TV. And so if I was to sort of predict where the clients will advertise in the future, I do think it will be in the TV environment. With Ramadan and NBC were always large players for a long time. They generated more revenue than digital overall. I do think we're going to sort of, over time, evolve into that space. It's a very visual region. It's a very, region that you want to reach people, large audiences. And I think that sort of digital, that TV screen still has the power of that. And of course, we're watching this on multi-devices. It's not just the TV device. You are watching this on multi-devices, whether you're casting or whatever. But yeah.
It's such a fascinating discussion as well, because we had the year of mobile, then we had the dual screen year. Everyone focused on like one segment. And today's conversation, and there were products where we were selling to a client, oh, it's dual screen, TV sync, let's sell that, let's sell this. But today, what I've loved is that the conversation is very dynamic, because we're not leaning one way or the other. We're looking at improving the tech. We're looking at localization. We're looking at internationally what's working and see if our audience needs that. So it's not just following the behavior patterns, but it's also creating some level of influence. So that's the present, and that's the research mode. And MENA has always been a melting pot for these things.
I just add one thing. So at the moment, the Arab Cup has taken place, and I think what they did interesting is the FIFA Arab Cup in Qatar. And, we would have assumed that would be on Todd or behind a paywall, but it's for free, and it's for free on every app. If you use the different apps in different countries, this programming is for free. And I think if clients were aware of that, this is attracting households, and it's educating people across Oman, Yemen, Jordan, everywhere to watch with connectivity to watch these channels. So I would love to have the stats to see, did any brand go, hey, I know that people are going to watch this cross channel. How do I even ask the agencies, like, if I want to put $500,000 to reach, how would I do that? What's the platform? What's the way to measure it? I think clients are, as Andrew said, there is an education piece here. But in terms of moments, like we will have Ramadan, we will have more and more moments. There's Riyadh season, there's lots of things happening. But when the big events, obviously the World Cup is happening next summer, LG sell a lot of TVs during the World Cup. And I know there's another partner of the World Cup, you still sell a lot of HD TVs. So what will clients do next summer? We have the highest number of Arab teams participation. They increase from 32 to 48 teams in the World Cup. So we have the most teams ever qualified for the World Cup next year. And Saudi, Jordan, Egypt, Morocco, there's loads of teams going to be involved. And I think that'll be really interesting to see how much spend will be there for next summer as well.
That's actually interesting. Actually, from Andrew and Sanya, from brand and agency perspective, have you heard any of these conversations?
Well, I didn't know that there was that many Arab teams. I know Nigeria didn't qualify, so after that, I kind of just, I was like,
well, they have the African Nations Cup, so.
No, but that's interesting. I think so. One thing that kind of kept sticking in my mind, and I'm sorry, I should have been, was fragmentation. Like I was thinking, like it's really difficult to sell in a lot of this tech as well, because we kind of always do lean audience first and objective first, it's tricky to educate around, the kind of individual mediums to reach the audience often. I think I'm not sure how to solve for that. You mentioned there's going to be a number of different buying types coming out. I know we do a lot of PG deals right now. That's typically how we buy CTV. But even internally, right, we don't really think of CTV and fast and AVOD, and we really don't think like that. We really think more about the clients, the audience, where can I reach them, how much does it cost, and that's kind of it. So I wonder if there's maybe another layer or something else that we can do to prove the value. One client comes to mind, very important, is MAF. We also have Saudi as well, that's very invested in attention measurement and optimizing your media buys and investment towards attention. I think that's where probably you're going to see a lot more of a moving of the budget based on metrics that the clients can actually believe in. They can, assuming that they do believe the likes of Lumen and Adelaide and so on, attention metrics actually drive brand value, which I think has been shown over and over again. But for some reason, clients don't want to buy into it. Xenia. But yeah, I think that's the kind of the biggest movement will be measurement. Measurement will be how we see those budgets.
This attention thing that Tanvir said, this is something which is very new that has come out now, and definitely this will become big in 2026.
So I'm sure you get these thoughts a lot. How is RBS looking to tackle this? Is there any plan yet, or is this something in works?
Yes, we are speaking to a lot of industry partners. LG is one of our premium partner. We are talking to Google on all the channels, the supply channels, the DSP platform. We are talking to Amazon DSP. We are talking to Magnite. So there is a lot of discussion that is happening. We hear a lot of feedback from agencies and clients. We take this feedback to this platform so that we can have a stability not just on the publisher side of it, but also the full ecosystem, so that we can deliver better measurement and better maybe the question that Andrew wants to answer is, what is the incremental reach that we are getting from CTV is something that is clearly on the agenda and vision.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with your point of view. So TV is not just a TV as before. Now it's becoming an actual smart TV, as a true smart TV by delivering the data to the clients and also the advertisers and the content providers and publishers. So we need advanced targeting and more in real-time measurement, and also the segmentations. These are something that we're working on and the metrics that we want to deliver to the market and the stakeholders.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. You've shared such valuable insight. Before I close off, just to wrap up the summary of how you feel and all the discussion today, in one sentence or more, you're free to do that. How do you think we can unlock more investments in 2026 for fast channels?
I think one of the biggest thing I would say is premium curated content via premium TVs in the form of premium channels is something that is clearly a gap. And whatever Richard is saying around content, Angela saying, I think that will definitely help. There is a lot of inquiries that are there from brands and agency for this type of channel and advertisement channel specifically. I think we'll have an interesting year.
Amazing. Year of CTV, I guess.
I think probably partnerships.
Okay.
So you're moving into a time of digital fatigue and ad fatigue in general. I think more brands are focused on experiential marketing. If you look at the likes of Sephora, for example, they've done the Sephora event for I think the second year or third year, I don't recall. It's huge. It drives massive value for them. In fact, in the region, Sephora is not even the region. Globally, Sephora's store in Dubai Mall generates more transactions and revenue than any other store globally.
Oh, wow.
So the region has like massive buying power. I think experiential partnerships with content producers is probably where you're going to see massive growth for 2026.
Fantastic. Thank you. As a platform perspective, definitely we need to support you
We need to drive the engagement and then bring in more richer local contents and the global contents to the platform, which will bring us the traffics and the viewership. So that's something that I'm planning to do in 2026 for the platform. And then also we're planning to have some marketing initiatives and the promotions. So this can be make our platform more richer and bigger.
Well, I think the involvement of measurement and making more case studies. Because for me, fast channels, it's not just about the fact that you can reach your target audience, because you can reach target audience across different other channels. But fast channels gives you extra benefits because this audience is already set, it's a lean back audience, and they already pay attention. And of course, fast channels give you high attention, and it results in better brand results. So I think that we just need to convince the market that that's what's happening when you advertise on fast channels.
I think we need the year of CTV. Fair. We need a simple narrative because there's so many acronyms, there's so many confusion around digital consumption on TV. But if we all, as marketers and communicators, got together and said, okay, the World Cup, why should it be the year of CTV? Why is the region going through a smart TV moment? And why should we all allocate? Because if you think back, to year of mobile and the year of social, these were terms defined on, okay, there was consumption and then ad spend sort of caught up. And, social media as a line item on media plans took a long time, right? And many things came on the back of it. There were salespeople, there was performance, there was different types of social units, there was, website cards, there were so many different units. There were hashtag takeovers for a day. There were so many different units, but it had a macro theme of, if I have $100,000, do I have social media as a line item? And I think every media plan next year needs CTD as a line item. Whether it's, I'm going to pick one podcast and I'm going to manually, or one show, and I'm going to put ads, programming into that show, or I'm going to buy directly with an SSP on a cross-platforms audience, or I'm going to go directly with the OS itself, or I'm going to go about a moment around Ramadan or World Cup. But if we had this sort of consensus, and I think there's potential, right? Like digital out of home has gone through a wave of investments in the last sort of 18 months, right? Largely led in Dubai by real estate, but it's also a trickle effect. Now everyone across the region is introducing new out-of-home media owners are sort of going, okay, now I need to invest in more digital technology because I see ad spend in Dubai is high. So it's going to trickle down to me. We see Backlight, we see lots of big Multiply Group, lots of big groups are investing in media owners, and then that follows through. And I think CTV, the year of CTV hasn't happened yet. And I know you're using that terminology, but it might not mean that everyone in the consumer world knows what CTV is, but as an industry, we need that moment. We need that sort of momentum.
It's interesting you say that. I know this is a closing remark, but I feel like in the last, having on the agency side and under, I don't know if you would agree, but on the plans, I've seen CTV exist a lot. I just don't know, like you guys said, there's education required because the diversity within CTV doesn't exist yet. So I think, yes, we need a year of CTV, but we need a year of beyond SWOT and AWOT as well. We need more education towards fast channels. We need a richer strategy because you will find CTV now in plans, but it's going to go to YouTube. So,
Be different, but you see particularly two industries, the airline industries and the telecom industry. For them now CTV is not an experimental budget.
Yeah.
They have regular budget
Yeah.
every month.
I've seen it as
So-
well, yes.
It has already started happening, and hopefully 2026 will have more industries and brand having regular permanent part for CTV.
Okay, we're starting a movement next year then. Thank you so much for your valuable insight and your time. We'll open the floor for any questions. Okay, if there are no... Oh, yes. Yes.
So for Andrew, when you think about CPV, what budget do you use for this? Do you actually look at the AV budget, the actual TV budget, that with a CTV, or do you cut it from the digital budget?
It's a good question. Honestly, it depends on the client. So typically CTV, you know, it's funny. We don't really plan based on digital and linear and so on. Not really anymore. A few years ago, yes, it used to be like that because there'd be like, you start at the top and you'd have a, I don't know, 50-50 split, you know, offline versus digital. But these days it doesn't really work like that. These days it's typically digital first. It starts off digital first unless the client has a substantial budget, in which case like TV would be you have to go for TV because the ROI is super high based on MMMs. What percentage? Are you looking for percentage? What kind
I
of?
just want to understand what budget you really look at. So like, you're telling me now you digital first. So when you look at CTV, it's definitely completely different CPM than what you can get from social media.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you look at it? Do you
Gotcha.
you compare it to linear where you used to put $1 billion to run across the year, or do you compare it to YouTube?
We compare it to, it's really bad because we do compare it with social. It's bad, but it's the way it is. We actually don't compare it to like GRPs and CPSs and whatnot. We don't look at like me, for example, you know, I'm leading on performance. I've never run offline campaigns, so I don't, it's not even, doesn't factor into my thinking at all. We think of it holistically, but yes, it does compare to social, which is why I was saying that it depends on the client. If it's a CPG brand, like a P&G, a Unilever, a Mondelez, a Nestle, etc., they operate on Byron Sharp's how brands grow philosophy, which is all about like mental availability and just being present everywhere, and also delivering your ads at the most efficient cost you can. So when you deal with a client like, this is going to be a long response. Let me just jump. I'll just jump. If you look at how TikTok, for example, came in and dominated, it was because they had extremely low CPMs and they had formats that allowed them to game the system when it comes to measurement, like MMNs. So back then they had like, they call it brand admission now, it used to be called hashtag challenges. The way that would work is you would have essentially a page on TikTok. You would have a challenge that you'd give out to your, you know, to the general public, you know, do this thing, whatever it might be. And then the public would you know, add like a hashtag to their video. And the page would collect all of the videos that's been generated by the public and consolidate all of that onto a single page and give you your billion views. That's not fast jump. It's kind of like a fast channel. But the point was like, it's 1 billion views, but they're also counting views based on when the video starts. So it's not even based on a second. So when you look at how you're measuring your media, you're basically saying for the cost that for the budget I have, I'm paying whatever it might be for this many views. But TikTok is giving you billions of views. And that's the number that we have to report back to our clients, right? And that's how they gamed it. There's nothing like that on CTV. There's nothing like that on Fast. For Fast to get a substantial share of the budget and to beat social, it needs to be about attention. It needs to be about, you are paying we call it ACPM, right? You need to look at it as how much attention are you actually buying from these platforms, and that would be how you win. But even that will be tricky because the CPMs are so low on social that when you look at, even though the attention is much less, you're still netting out higher, like better with social than you are on CTV. So you guys need to drop your CPMs for it to be competitive. That's just the way it is.
Angela, I have a question for you actually regarding attention.
Regarding attention. Okay.
To be able to measure attention, this is an operating system, an OE, session work. Is this something that you guys planning to have in the Middle East? With, I think, what are very complex when it comes to the data privacy, having a camera device on TV in order to measure attention, right? Because that's the only way, as far as I know, to actually measure deterministic attention?
Definitely, there is like limitations when it comes to TV device. We cannot compare this to mobile. However, there is a data saying that YouTube viewership surpassed the mobile viewer hours surpassed. I mean, the TV hours surpassed the mobiles. Now people are actually prefer to watching on the big screens and with the but with the snackable entertainment. So that's which proves that CTB is growing. However, grabbing attention is still, I would say, it's still limited. However, we're trying to capture other types of the data through their behaviors, like how they move their mouses, how we also helping them to log in to LG IDs. And then also we have AI features, voice recognition, this type of things. So, and also we definitely get consent for the data collection. So you're secured. And, but sure, for sure, definitely the purpose of the usage for the device between the mobile and the TV can be different. And that's why it will be great for you to convince your clients that their objective and the KPI can be different in different devices. And then the CTV is coming. Here's going, yes.
First, congratulations for the launch. It's fantastic.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
To add to your Kashim, see, camera is not the only way to grab attention or tech to measure to measure the attention. I'll take to the early years of mobile or desktop when Google Analytics started. It publishes data of what is the visit duration, right? It doesn't have a camera, but yeah. So there are algorithms on the technology side. Without a camera, you can measure what is the attention, and it is non-intrusive, but also anonymized that you can measure attention.
Probabilistic.
It's probabilistic, yeah. He mentioned deterministic, yeah.
For attention as a metric is a deterministic metric. It should be. That's how it should be.
So this is why I was saying about like convincing clients that the likes of Lumen attention measurement can be is valid, because it is probabilistic. It has to be, because it's literally, they have a panel, they capture how people in a classroom setting, how people actually view different ads, different type of creatives, and they build that into the algorithm to predict if this type of asset is served on this kind of platform, then most likely someone was looking at this space, then this product, and so on. So it's based on an algorithm.
But TV, unless we're QR codes or we're live shopping, TV isn't a performance channel. It's just not a performance channel, right? Like, yes, sometimes people will have their credit cards linked with QR codes with subscription, but even then, we're paying for Netflix on a web browser, not even via apps. So it's not a performance channel. So any agency or any trusted partner that takes a brand down the path of performance with TV is just taking them down the wrong path. And any trusted partner that tells a client that the only way to do marketing is through performance doesn't understand the power of brand in a noisy world. Sephora had 12,000 people queuing online for tickets, obsess young people trying to get into Sephora without any performance marketing because of the power of brand. So, it's not a debate between awareness and performance. It's like, do you want to be top of mind? And I think, buying TV is just guesswork. Like that idea that you ask a subset of 50 people what thing they watched last night at 8 p.m. Like that's just silly. But now we can remove all that in the Google Analytics example, and that should be enough. For any brands, that should be enough. Like watch time, how many people watched a game last night, the duration, where they are, a bit of demographics, that should be enough. In terms of what that function can do for you, and that should be proportion of any media marketing plan. whether it gets more than the other. But if we go straight down to lower funnel all the time, it's not really the best way to build a company or build a brand.
No, I completely agree. So funny enough, my title might be performance, but it is digital. All of digital is considered performance because all of digital is on billboard. Exactly.
Fair.
Yeah. Just went off.
I love this. Any more questions? Oh, that's a great note to end this session on. Thank you so much. Yes.
One last question on past channels. Do anyone who can answer it? I believe that this is gonna be the future of streaming in the way future. So we will have so many channels in the future, so many fast channels, right? What will differentiate a billion fast channel from them? That's lowest of the question. If there's any roots free, I know, but what's because it trying to be higher, what's John Asper?
Yeah.
Good question.
Thanks, Aziz. We just had a good note, though. I think publishers will always talk about premium. You know, we see a big conversation at the moment, like Netflix acquiring HBO, which was seen as premium. Publishers and streaming services like Yango will always talk about premium. I think with the way, like a new platform, a new emerging thing, it gets known for something. Snapchat was known for sexting or whatever. TikTok was known for dancing. Twitter was known for what I had for breakfast. But that's the entry point. That's not the depth of the platform. So, you know, from our point of view, we want to do consumer populist mainstream media, and we look at it in different ways. I do think that fast is ambient. It's in the background. It's while you're cooking, running, driving, whatever. And so I do think that Love in Dubai will be, won't necessarily as a brand be seen, you know, as high production, best actors, you know, 7-part series. That won't be it, but you can still deliver premium quality, especially with partners like LG, the quality of the TV set, the quality of the programming. We've partnered with Amagi, the best-in-class technology globally to serve this. So everything from our point of view and how we protect the brands, our brand and the brands that are on it has a premium element to it. But then the rest of premium is subjective.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for being here.